Hello, everybody. Welcome to K.I.S.S Recovery 101. This is Bridge. I am here again Sunday. I gotta be honest, listeners, I barely made it. I got here. I got set up. I was doing somebody else's podcast, and we really got. It was like a 2-hour conversation. I really hope they edit that. There's a lot of rambling and. It went on and on. All of a sudden, I look at the time. I'm like, oh, it's okay. I already have my laptop here with me. I realized I didn't have the mics. Marcie. Oh my gosh. I flew home so quick, and I sent you a text like, I'm going to be running a little late. 20 minutes. I totally exaggerated, but we made it. I got the mics hooked up. We actually had a few minutes to sit and talk and catch up because you know me. I'm all over the place, so it's nice to have you here with me. So guests, so listeners, my guest tonight is someone I've mentioned many times on the show. I mentioned many times just when I share or speak on myself. The woman I have with me today, don't get me started. We're gonna talk a lot about your impact on my journey and my life, and yeah, you're indispensable. It's priceless, these things that you get, these wonderful people you meet in the rooms in recovery, and life-changing. So go ahead and introduce yourself. Who do we have with us here tonight?
Hi, my name is Marcie, and I am Bridget's sponsor.
My sponsor. Gosh, how long has it been? Officially. I mean, we've known each other almost...
I don't know. How many months? How sober are you?
Well, I'm 2 years sober, but you've been working with me at least a year before that directly as my quote-unquote, sponsor. But you've known me since my first meeting, Women's Way. That was like 10 years ago?
No, I've only been sober 8.
Okay.
Probably 7 years ago.
Mm-hmm. It must have been because when I first was going, it was Monday nights.
Correct.
Yes. Okay. It was some blur that first meeting, and I know that was So I wasn't ready when I first met you, but I do remember at the time I was forced to go to a meeting, and luckily I found your meeting, and I met you, and I'm like, oh. This might not be so scary. This might not be so bad. But you've been witness to this journey that I've been on. So in the 8 years, let's do some math. So 2 years of, true, honest, consistent sobriety. But it was a struggle for years before that. And definitely recognize it was within myself. But one thing that's, definitely stood out to me is that you unconditionally supported me. I always felt safe with you. I always felt welcomed. And how you sponsor is how I sponsor. And that is just unconditional love and support. And I know when I was finally got the courage to even attempt to ask for another sponsor, I didn't even think you'd say yes, to be honest. And I was so moved that you even considered, because I knew I always had been a mess. And I was so touched by that, but I didn't realize for so long that I needed what you gave me. So it was a process. But I want to talk about tonight, I really want to focus a lot on, so we're coming into the 4th month of the year. So when I work with my sponsees, the ones that can't do a week-to-week one-on-one check-in, I like to just at least every month hit each step. And step 4 is scary. How's your take on step 4, Marcie? When you first had to do it, or you do it with other people?
Actually, step 4, when I was in big book meetings, and there were so many people that were always terrified of it. Mm-hmm. People would actually relapse on step 4. Mm-hmm. They were so worried about it. And I never realized or understood the concept. Why would they What is so scary about it?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not. And I think the scary part for most people is you're finding out truth about yourself.
Yes.
So they're worried about maybe being honest and truthful with themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not about what other people think, but it's on how you feel, just to clean out your closet and get that out there.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it wasn't scary.
Mm-hmm.
It was just part of the process.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, being a newcomer and not, well, I had a lot of trust issues. I'd been hurt by a lot of people, stemming from my childhood. And so I didn't even know how to be honest with other people, let alone myself. I didn't even realize how much I was lying to myself. I lived in this cloak of denial, and what I had heard when I was first going in those rooms is this big moral inventory, this list of sins, and I kept thinking, why do I need to list out all the awful things that I did? That sounds miserable and painful. And I was one of those people that you just mentioned, that I would constantly, it was a 1, 2, 3 shuffle on those first 3, and I just keep, right when I'd even attempt to do 4, it started to get, if it got painful or scary or anything, I wanted to numb that pain. I wanted to escape myself. I didn't want to feel that. And I think, so you are my 4th and forever sponsor.
You are stuck with me for the rest of your life,
We
I'm
definitely
afraid.
stuck. Yes, we're stuck together. It's a beautiful thing. But I know I've done step 4s with other sponsors, and and 5, and it everybody has their own way and their own thing that works for them. But like directly with the big book, I mean, that was a book written by men for men. So there's a lot of terminology and language in there that immediately just made it was hard to be open-minded in general, but it really closed me off and shut me down, because as a woman, ego wasn't a big thing for me. Like we were just talking about, I was the opposite of that. I felt so devalued. I had no self-esteem, no pride of anything, that like it wasn't it was actually the opposite of, like, it wasn't about me trying to get over myself. It was me trying to really get into myself and like myself and accept myself. And Women's Way, that book, and the meeting that you still facilitate on Wednesdays at the Blade Alado, 6:30 or 6:15? 6:30. 6:30 in person, or there's a virtual too. But that book is Women's Way Through the 12 Steps, and that opened my eyes to really be able to understand the big book in more of my view, And actually, I don't even like that it just says Women's Way Through, because the way that she really goes into depth with each step in the big book, it can be beneficial to anybody in general. So I wish I should have told you to bring the book, because you have it highlighted in different colors.
I wish I had it with me, because there's so many important things in that book and the biggest thing is to have some compassion for yourself, and know that it's not to beat you up or make you feel bad. It's to help you learn about yourself, so that as you just discover these things and learn about it, it helps you move forward. That's the biggest thing with that.
Yes, and stop punishing myself. And I didn't understand, like, why. Okay, so if I list them all out, right, and I did that several times, why, and I told my higher power, right, obviously the Great Spirit knows these things already. Why do I have to tell another person? Like, I couldn't understand, like, why does someone else have to know how awful I am? Like, this terrible, sinning, bad person. I don't, especially you and just the people that I really started to connect with. I don't want you to, like, see me as this awful human being. I'm gonna lose you. And so I lived in that fear. And I remember just going round and round, and it wasn't until I found, like, back to basics that I was able to really simplify it, because I had overcomplicated the crap out of it for years that I couldn't get through it.
And I think that's what most people do too, is they'll overcomplicate, overthink it, think you have to list every single thing, And the biggest thing to remember is the longer you're in sobriety, more things come to light. I'm still learning about myself every day. And it's not a one and done. And when you're ready, some things you're just not ready for. And it could be a year, 2 years, 8 years before you're ready for certain things. And it's just, so that's the biggest thing, is you want to do what's important now. What's
weighing on your heart now.
My biggest thing, I didn't want to tell my story again.
Yeah.
There were certain things that, life events and everything that led up to and got me sicker and sicker, but you get tired of telling your story to new people, and it's kind of like, I just wanted to let it go and not have to tell the story again. But by doing that, it helped clear everything out and get rid of a lot of things. So that's, but that was my biggest thing. It's like, really, I don't want to see this again.
Yes. Well, in the Women's Way book, it was like, it really harps on doing it so that you can truly understand why, the why part, because there's all these patterns, and like they say character defects. Well, they point out, no, character defenses, because these are things that have been rooted in me to survive. And like, now I realize because I've done the 4 and the 5 so many times, really, because I've learned these things about myself, it created this awareness of those patterns that I have in those cycles, and those walls that will just come up out of like this when I feel defensive. And now I could say, oh wait, I don't need to be in survival mode anymore. Like, I don't need to live in fear and hide anymore, because I'm not doing anything wrong. And I don't have to worry about consequences and all these things if I'm just doing what I believe to be, be the best version I can be of myself. And that will always be changing and growing. And that's why I love the steps, that's why I go through them consistently, is because I find every time I do with someone else or for myself, I learn something more about myself. And I love that you mentioned, especially when I first came in, there was a lot of things buried I didn't even remember. And someone will say something at a meeting, and I'm like, oh, like this PTSD part of it, just something comes back, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I forgot that happened to me too, or I did that. I remember my thinking then, So it's a window into who I really am and how I got here. So, but anyway, I could ramble. So, but okay, so Marcie, you've never heard the show, so I'm just gonna give you, and for anybody new listening, it's about an hour. I do have 3 alarms set, because that reminds me. So it's an interactive show, so people can. Oh, we already got Chelsea's on. She's our new Bad Moms leader. Hi, Chelsea. So they can comment. She says, hi, ladies. And she says, yes, random memories pop up in my head now that I'm sober. Things I had completely blocked out. Did you find that there was thanks, Chelsea. That's things that, like, when I finally just decided I'm just going to get through these steps, right? Because they don't have to be perfect. And that was one of my still is a bit of my character defects or defenses, is that perfectionism thing. I just want to do things to the best of my ability. And my friend Chris pointed out, Bridge, the enemy of good is perfect. So that just helped me to focus on making things good enough. And they don't have to be perfect. They're never going to be perfect, so stop. And so I just remember getting through the steps and just that reprieve of step 5. And I remember just being able to reveal these things, and for you to just, listen and not I don't know. I always pictured in my head you would look at me different, you would treat me different, you would judge me differently, and you never did. Ever. I still feel silly saying it. But in my mind, I thought you would vilify me. Or anyone.
Well, and I think that's the fear that most people have too.
Yes.
Is because even my first sponsor, it was like, what is she going to think of what I say? What do I tell her? You know, and a lot of people too, they actually lie on their fourth step because they don't want to bring it out. And really, it's just getting to know yourself. It's not, and most people too that find out, their sponsor looks at them like, yeah, so what?
And
It's
I've
not
heard
that big
ones
of a
like,
deal.
"Yep, I
Everybody
did
said that.
too."
Okay.
What? Yes. Well, and that's the big thing is I encourage people to get a sharing partner or just a person, a sponsor. It could be whatever label. It's got to be someone that you feel that you can trust. It's got to be someone. I definitely don't recommend, like Jason always says, never somebody on your list.
Right. Absolutely.
But definitely somebody that you can feel, like your guard down. And of course, the first time I went through the step, I remember like, there was just things I had forgotten or blocked out. But yes, there was things I I did talk about them, but I didn't go into full detail. And I really didn't need to, because it's just getting it out initially that first go around. But I'll tell you, every time I go through it, I like digging in more and getting more of that darkness out and really digging into that darker side, because finally I'm in this place where I'm not scared, and the more things that I overcome, that I know it's not going to hurt me in the end, it empowers me more, and I find that the more I talk about those dark days, the more it allows other women in my meeting to feel like they can talk about their things too, and that's why women's meetings I think are important, because there's a lot of stuff. The big book is wonderful. However, like, I used to hit myself over the head with that book because there's just so much that's just like, this doesn't apply to me, just the way that it was worded. And Women's Way allowed me to make it my own and make it connect with me. So I do, okay, so anyway, sorry, I keep doing that. Good. Because you're like my favorite person, Marcie, so it's so easy for me to just forget that this is a show here. Okay, so there's two segments. The first segment is called the hot seat. And it is hot in this room, but it will be hot on air, because I'm going to ask you 3 hot and heavy questions.
Oh, no.
Don't get...
Do I have to answer?
I will be kind. But really what the concept is they're deeper, heavier questions maybe. And they're questions that, I'm not like pinpointing, coming at you directly. It's more meant to, it's something I might have asked myself, or someone out there, especially new, could be asking themselves, and something you say or answer, whatever that answer is, they might connect with. So, because we can always have the casual conversations and the questions and stuff, but I pick questions that I feel like are just a little bit deeper, that, your casual, what is it, coffee break conversations would bring up usually. And then the last segment is called the live Facebook memes. And so during the week, I get a thrill out of going through the memes that people post. Some of them are really clever and funny, and some are just inspirational. And so I'll screenshot it through the week. And then this week there's only 5, but I'll save them, and then I flash them to you, and we're going to go through, and the listeners will actually be able to see those. I found a way now that I can flash them the meme, and so we'll just go through it together.
And what am I supposed to do with the meme?
So,
Understand
do you know what memes are?
Yes.
Okay, good. I've had guests that have no idea what those are. But I want you to like Facebook. You will tell me if you thumbs up it, or smiley, or hearts, or laugh out loud if you liked it. Oh, and then you're free to comment too, like you would on Facebook. But it's live. And we get to have other people interact with us too. So, yes, listeners, I encourage you, if any questions come to mind, or any comments, please feel free. This is live, at least for, wow, we're already at 8:20. The next 40 minutes. See how fast it goes? So, all right. I did have prepared a clip. So, I'm not going to lie. I had a really busy weekend. And I know this clip was inspirational to me at the moment. But we're going to re-listen to it together, Marcie. So it's Oprah Winfrey. I really like motivational, inspirational videos, or just listening to people that, I know are inspire me, and just their words of wisdom. I like to just chime in on that. And anyway, this one is, if you go to Motivation Arc on YouTube channel, it's a 10-minute video. We're just going to play the first 2 minutes, but I love what she says. My assistant Sally's not here today, so we're going to try to read this through my phone here, so hopefully the listeners can hear it. So our mics will be on, so we got to try to keep not talk, but 2 minutes, Marcie. You let me know what you think, okay? Let's see if we can get this to work. Okay, volume's all the way up. Here we go.
I always understood that there really was no difference between me and the audience. At times I might have had better shoes, but at the core of what really matters, that we are the same. And you know how I know that? Because all of us are seeking the same thing. You're here at this fabulous school, and we'll go out into the world and each pursue based upon what you believe your talents are, what your skills are, maybe your gifts are, but you're seeking the same thing. Everybody wants to fulfill the highest, truest expression of yourself as a human being. That's what you're looking for. The highest, truest expression of yourself as a human being. And because I understand that if you're working in a bakery and that's where you want to be, and that may be what you always wanted to do, is to bake pies for people or bake cakes for people or to offer your gift, then that's for you. And there's no difference between you and me, except that's your platform. That's your show every day. So my understanding of that has allowed me to reach everyone. And there's no way that you wouldn't, because that's what I truly feel. The way through the challenge is to get still and ask yourself, what is the next right move? Not think about, I got all of this stuff. What is the next right move? And then from that space, make the next right move and the next right move. And not to be overwhelmed by it, because you know your life is bigger than that one moment. You know you're not defined by what somebody says is a failure for you, because failure is just there to point you in a different direction. If I leave...
Ooh, I love that. What do you think of it?
It is so powerful, because I think too, as alcoholics and going through the steps, and we have just that next moment. And each day, can we do better today than we did yesterday? What next best thing can we do? And everything she said related to, because we are not different. We're all the same.
Right.
Just want to be better each and every day. So no matter where we came from, the path brought us here. And we can just continue each day to do the next best thing.
And trying to be the best versions of ourselves. And I love one of the, I think I know why I picked, and if you get to listen to the rest of it, she says that it's so important to really find who you are and understand who you are. And I didn't realize how important that was until I really started to understand myself. It allowed me to be able to forgive myself, and it allows me still today to have empathy for myself. It's always been so easy for me to have empathy for other people. And when I heard someone finally say, it's important to have empathy for other people, and the more you have, that's good, but it's that much more important that you give yourself empathy. And I think the more I get to work with people and the more I get to express empathy, gives me that empathy to myself. And it's okay to make mistakes, and it's okay, because that helps me learn, It's like, on a positive note, I'm like, oop, challenge accepted. Now what can I learn from this? I needed to fail all those other times when I had these goes at recovery, because it allowed me to break down those original walls that I had built up through my life that I didn't even realize were there. I hate that saying that relapse is a part of recovery, because relapse, yes, was a part of my recovery, unfortunately, but that's because of a lot of deep-rooted stuff that I unfortunately brought with me, and through my adulthood that I didn't even know. But relapse does not have to be a part of your recovery, and I love to point out, Marcie, my sponsor, that relapse is not a part of your recovery. Never had to be a part of your recovery, and that's so inspiring. And I feel like you give that, especially to a brand newcomer, that will hear people say, oh, relapse is a part of recovery. Then that newcomer say, oh, so I have to relapse to really get where you're at? I don't get it.
Yeah,
so,
I don't.
So you can speak on that, because it does not have to be.
And I don't believe that. I don't believe, yes, it can be part of your recovery, as part of yours, but it doesn't have to be. Right. And when I hear people say that, it's almost like they're giving them an excuse to relapse or to relapse, where you need to, stay focused, and each day, and I still do. I'm not today. I'm not gonna drink today. Maybe tomorrow, but not today. Right. Because it's always going to be there. So the power is in yourself to make that decision each and every day. Like I told Bridget, I told her, I said, you can do this. It's all on you. You have to surrender and accept that you're an alcoholic. And once you do that, you can go forward. And I told her, honestly, I told her it's all up to you.
Yes.
It's not me.
Yes.
I just love you.
I do remember that.
And
for me, I couldn't
care.
understand it. And I wanted it so bad, but I knew I was lying to myself. And I kept thinking, how can I surrender? Like, how can I really be honest? Because I had so many things at the end, consequences, and I had so many things like, if they find out this, or if I do that, anything could get me in a lot of trouble. At the end of the day, that's what ended up happening.
And I was thinking about that the other day too, when I was thinking about you, and seemed I still lose my train of thought. I totally lost it. I just got a total thing. But it was.
But no, I remember the surrender.
I know.
Understand.
I know. Remember now.
Okay.
I think you need somebody to believe in you.
Yes.
Somebody that truly cared and believed in you. And I cared about you from that first time you ever walked into the room. And when you didn't come back or came back, and I was always there to give you a hug. Yes. I wanted to give you a hug because I cared. And that's why it's so important. The rooms aren't they are for us that are in sobriety, but it's for the person that struggles.
Yes.
To be there and be compassionate and care. And that's all I did.
And that's all I needed.
I could see in Bridget's eyes every time she was struggling. So
yes, because I wouldn't tell anyone.
No.
And I was always so ashamed, and I remember that last time. And I sat at the back of the meeting. I don't know. I guess I thought you wouldn't see me or recognize me. I don't know. Because it had probably been, I was on because what would happen is I would feel so bad after a reuse that I wouldn't come back for months. And I don't know. I just always came back to you. I just knew I just felt that you cared. I know that from the beginning. It still makes me emotional. I always felt like you really genuinely cared, and I didn't have anyone like that in my life. I didn't, and I had a lot of people that was the opposite. And so I think that's what always brought me back to you, is I knew that you just cared about me, just for me. There was no expectations, there was no judgments. I felt that love. And I remember when I sat down with you, well, I wasn't going to. I was going to take off. I would always take off right after the meetings. And you were like, Bridge, hey, what are you doing? Come here. Do you want a hug? And I was like, yes. I remember you just gave me that really big hug that I really needed. And for me, that was a start of my surrender.
I think you were always afraid that I was going to, reject you. Yep. And no, never. To me, it was a blessing to have you as a sponsee. And just to be there, it's an honor. And you're so easy. I don't have to do anything.
That's what you say, but if you knew my own worst enemy, my own struggles with. And so, and Chelsea says, yes, we are all equals and want the same thing. And I love that about the fellowship. We all only want the best for each other, and we are worthy of happiness. Oh, I love that, Jose. I'm going to flash that. And that's the thing, is like the newcomer, especially those unlovable people, like that's how I felt. I felt like I wasn't worthy of love. Need to know that there's people like me and you now. Well, it's always been you, but now that I feel so filled with love, that I want to give that back, and I genuinely care just to care, and there is no expectations. There's no like reasons or I'm getting anything out of it except for I just want to give what was given to me, and but yeah, I mean, what you don't, I don't know if you remember this, but it wasn't much longer that you just asked, like, well, you had been asking for weeks, but nobody was stepping up. But you were like, I'd like to step down for a bit, take a pause on leading. And I remember casually mentioning that I had taken over a meeting on the spot just because nobody showed up, and how cool that was. And somehow I got a key and I started taking over Women's Way. And you were so wise, but I didn't realize how much that started to really change me. It started to build, I started to get confidence. I started to feel like, oh, maybe I am worth something. Maybe I can be a leader. Maybe I can, have I always take responsibility, I'm always committed, and that's not a big deal. But sitting in that chair and having people think my failures that I had was an inspiration was like, it was like, I always say it's hard to give service and say like it's service, because for me, I get so much from it. It feels like wrong.
For me, when I lead too, I always tell people, I'm not really your leader. I'm just here, here for you, to be here every week. And I think it does make a big difference because it keeps me accountable, even though, a lot of times, I'd rather not.
Yes. Oh, there's days when I'm just like, I'd just rather stay home in my pajamas. But.
Oh, absolutely. But it's really the leader, and I think everybody should be a leader at one time. Yes. Because for me, years ago, I wouldn't do that, or I wouldn't even talk on this. So I told Bridget, you're putting me way out of my comfort zone here.
You're doing well.
But it is important because, I might have something to say, but it keeps people coming to know there's somebody there.
Yes.
And it does kind of make you feel good when people compliment you. It's empowering. Yeah.
You believed in me. I just remember getting that key, and I'm like, I've never even had like a key to my house growing up. Like, I was not even allowed to have a key to our house. Like, we were locked in a weird situation. So it was like this key, and it meant more to me than just like, oh, I'm going to be a leader in this group. It was like, this woman believes in me.
Now look at everything that you're doing.
And that's really all I needed, was someone to believe in me. Because, like, I know at the heart, in my core, I'm a good person. I always knew I meant well. But how it would come out, and just, I was so afraid I've always been like this people pleaser, and I don't want anyone to be mad at me or feel like I'm this or that, and so I would work so hard, and at the end of the day, when I lost everything, when I lost the only little people that mattered, that I really cared about what they thought about me, and all those people that I did all these things for, that wouldn't even pick up the phone when I was at my lowest, I realized, why do I care what anybody else thinks except my children, And that's when I woke up and realized I need to stop the people pleasing, because I need to put myself and my recovery first, and then I could be there for my kids and F everybody else. But sorry, just to go back, but yes, like you said earlier, and what that key meant to me was that you believed in me, and especially for me, admitting that admission and that surrender, I felt so vulnerable. I was just putting myself out there, never done anything like that before. And for you to just step up and be like, well, I believe in you, you just keep going. And I just kept going, and I haven't stopped since, in 2 years. And then, but yeah, and it's so funny because literally the only rule I have as a sponsor is, to my sponsees, I say, don't hesitate. And all that means is, even if you think it's the littlest thing, or even if you think it's too much, if you have one little thought in your head that says, "Oh, I should reach out to Bridge," do it. Don't hesitate on it, because there's so many times when I would get tripped up because I'm like, "Oh, this is not a big deal," or "This is a happy thing," or whatever. I'm not gonna bug her, But Marcie knows I do call. I will call, especially the big stuffs. I'm like, I don't hesitate because I know I can't do it alone, and I need you. And that's what's wonderful about you, is you always you either answer, you call me right back, and I know just for this podcast, you're like, what's going on? Because I don't bug you much. I mean, I don't.
And I would only do this for Bridge. I wouldn't do this for anyone else.
And you just said,
what I told her.
So, what? And you're like, well, for you. So thank you. But yeah, there's so many things, and one thing that I definitely want to bring up is with step 4. Okay, Women's Way really breaks it down beautifully, and I'll say this to everyone, women or men or whatever. It's such a for me, it's a beautiful step now. Instead of saying moral inventory, for me, and what they say in Women's Way is it's a personal inventory. It's this wonderful opportunity, especially when you find a Marcie or someone that you feel safe and connect with. It's this wonderful opportunity to do an inside job and to explore yourself. And like it says in the book, there's this beautiful paragraph. I wish I would have brought the book too. It's like step 4 is like, it's like you got this dark room, right? And you open the door, and you wouldn't just walk into this random dark room, right? Because you're gonna trip on stuff. You're gonna fall. You're gonna get hurt. You're gonna, cause pain. So step 4 is like turning on a light in that dark room and looking at what those barriers or those obstacles are in your path, right? And so step 4 allows you to figure out the stuff that you don't necessarily need, to get that shit out of the way, and then the stuff that you do need, but it doesn't have to be in this, in your main journey or path or whatever. But the point is, so it clears your path, and so that you don't have to keep having those same cycles and those same patterns, because now you can F and C. The light's on.
And I think too, there's an analogy in there about, you can open the door a little bit. You can go out the door a little bit. If you're not comfortable, you can come back. You can close the door. You can. So it's not, you have to dive into everything. Just what you're ready for. Actually, if I can share this, who I always share about my daughter, because she's my daughter.
Yes, you love her.
I love her. Wonderful. And, she's going through some things of her own and some stuff from childhood. And one of it was her dad had committed suicide when she was younger. We were divorced. But it was very devastating thing in our lives and for hers. And now, through a lot of things, she's finding out a lot of how that affected her. And she never really, really grieved him. And she's 31 years old. And she was telling me she's afraid to go down there because she doesn't know what's down there or how deep to go. And I told her, well, think of it as climbing down a mountain. You have a rope, and you can go down, and then if it gets too far, you can always come back up. You don't have to go all the way down until you are comfortable in that spot.
Right.
And a little background, my daughter is a licensed therapist.
Yeah.
So she looked at me and said, "Oh, Mom, have you ever thought of..." I'm like, "No, Rachel," but she said, I never ever thought of it that way. She's like, "You would be a great
Therapist?
Recovery counselor." And I'm like,
"Oh, yeah."
No. I said, "I'm too old for that, honey."
No, never.
But it's the same concept of that door. And what Bridge was saying, it's not all at one time. So you do what you're comfortable for, and you can always back up. And then when you get through it, same thing later on down the road when you get to doing your amends. It's the same type of thing. It's not, you don't have to do it all at one time. It's when you're ready. And you'll know.
Yes.
So.
Well, that's the thing, is like a sponsor or sharing partner, it's more like, it's like I see myself as this guide, right? I'm not going to pull you along and make you do it, and I'm not going to push you to do these things. Oh my gosh, we're already at the hot seat alarm. But I'm going to walk with you, and I'm going to guide you on your own journey, you know? And that's what I felt like. I don't get those drill sergeants. Like, I get some people need that, like, here's how I did the steps, here's how you're going to do the steps, blah, blah, blah. I don't get that, you know? And I got rejected, I got dropped, you know, because, and it was just, it was a bunch of things. But, like, I've heard stories where, especially with men, you know, they have to call them every night, and they have to do this certain reading, and if you don't, then you're done. And it's like, for me, that rejection was, like, almost more devastating than being rejected by normies, you know, because I was like, well, even my own people don't love me. And it wasn't that. He just felt, you know, and I agree. I mean, like, we just didn't have that connection that you and I have. And so it wasn't anyone's fault, but definitely it's so important that if the sponsor that you have, you're just not feeling that, you know, you can change sponsors. I've done that. Or they encourage, too, with the step 5, you can do it with like a clergy person, or I accidentally did part of mine with my therapist just because I just had that platform and it was the right time. But it's got to be what feels right to you. But it's also important not to prolong. So even, the first time I go around, many times were not perfect, but at least I did them. And I got to feel that first sense of that weight lifted. And I didn't realize how much I had carried around with me in my own head. And once I just told you about it, I realized, wow, no wonder I was just so sad all the time.
And that's how the back to the basics helps that way, too, because even for me, I had never done the back to basics till, 2 years ago? Mm-hmm. And it's like, you just go through it and get done. Mm-hmm. And, you're not going to get through everything, but you're never going to, because there's always, still find stuff.
Yes.
It's still, you know, and I'll go, oh, no wonder. Oh, you know.
New light.
Slap myself in the forehead on that one, you know, so.
That's me. Yes. And that's why I love going through the steps with other people, too, especially when they're new, is because, like, the new insight or their view on stuff, it's wonderful to just have a conversation because many times I'm like, wow, I never thought about it like that. Or, you know, something similar in my story, I'll be like, wow, like, you're right, like, I could see it differently. And I mean, for years I didn't even see the first step. It says we. I was trying to do everything by myself. We friends, it's not meant to be done alone. So the human connection, I mean, we're humans, I mean, that's what we need, especially as women. Okay, so we're gonna jump into the hot seat, and I think
I thought we already did one of those.
Oh no, there's 3 specific questions that are meant to be hot and heavy, and I even have a sound effect if I can find it.
Oh no.
So that the viewers can feel the intenseness of where we're sitting, but I don't know where it's at. Okay, well, it's the hot seat. I tried to, like, make the sound before.
Should I just put the microphone to my heart so you can hear it?
Yeah, do the do. Okay, so 3 questions, and just whatever comes to your mind, and whatever you feel comfortable sharing. You ready?
Okay.
Okay, Marcie, my beautiful sponsor. Question number 1: what's your biggest character defect or defense? Would you say?
My biggest character defect is lack of self-confidence.
Okay.
And acceptance. I think those are the 2.
Do you want to elaborate on that?
Oh.
No.
I have fear of not being good enough or saying the wrong thing. You know, it's even like the first time I spoke at Grace Counseling, I was terrified. And I had been sober for 6 years, and I never spoke. I have that fear, and I think it extends from growing up, always being told, you're not good, you're not going to be worth anything, you know, and not having that brought upon you as growing up. So when you walk through life, you don't think you're good enough. But, you know, then that's where it comes through when you start drinking. You know, you get more confidence, you have, you know.
Liquid courage.
Oh, yeah. And I still have fear, you know. But like today, here I
today,
am.
you're just doing
I
it.
didn't want to. I was trying to find a way out of it, but I couldn't find one. So here.
Oh my goodness! I did.
And
have
I'm
a
glad
split
I'm
second
here.
thought, like, what if she doesn't show up? What am I gonna do? Yes, and that's similar to me. And I feel like for me leading that meeting, that started to help build my confidence. And now just because of doing the training, it's helped me feel more confident. And just now, anytime I know I feel terrified about something, I throw myself into it. Now, it doesn't always go as I hoped or whatever, but the fact that I did it and I know that I have that experience, that I know it's not so bad. Like, Grace Counseling helped a lot, going and speaking there. And initially, when I took over Women's Way, nobody would do it. So I was doing it twice a week, and it was great. I mean, I would get so like panic attacky when I'd be shaking and stuff, but like after a month of going twice a week, I got over it. So now I realize, like, even at work now, we're doing outreaches and I'm doing like trainings myself, and I feel so, my confidence is like, ooh, I don't know what you're doing here, but you're just gonna do it. I force myself because, yeah, I'm okay with being a mess. Learning as I go now.
It's that fear of failure.
Yes.
It's when I first started my new job 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I was terrified. I'd never applied for a job sober before.
Yeah.
Done the training, did everything. I knew how to talk on the phone. I know how to do it. I'd done it before.
Mm-hmm.
But I tell you what, I thought I was going to die when I had it that very first day on the floor, having to have the headset on and the phone calls coming in.
Mm-hmm.
I was a mess.
Mm-hmm.
I made it through it. But it was, so that fear.
Yes.
But I think a lot of the fear was too, it was, I was sober.
Mm-hmm.
But then it was a great feeling that, I did it. But and then it's not like, where did that fear come from?
Right.
And I think it goes back to childhood days,
Yes.
not feeling, having the feeling, the encouragement and the love from my dad saying that you were worthy.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm going to send you some motivational inspiring videos that have helped me. Seriously, because like just listening to it over and over, and like Will Smith, he's one of my favorites, but he says, fail early, fail often, but fail forward. And so like that's kind of helped me take on, like, especially when things get really heavy and I'm stressed out, and like I'm like, why are these things keep mounting up or happening? My car is broken down, or rent's getting a little behind, or my daughter's struggling at school. I realize I just look at, okay, these are challenges. Okay, challenge accepted. Higher power, I see what you're doing here. I need to learn something. This is an opportunity for a lesson. I don't know what it is yet now, but I know I will overcome it. And I know I just got to be patient and do my best. And every time I look back at those things, even if I failed, I learned something from that. And I don't do it anymore, or I'm learning something new about myself. And but yeah, it sucks to fail. It's just I take a moment. I'm like, okay, that really sucks, but I move on.
Well, my biggest affirmation is the one from The Help, who has seen the movie The Help, and she talks to the little girl and she says, "You are worthy. You are beautiful."
Mm-hmm. Oh my god!
And I tell people everybody should put that on their
mirrors.
On their mirror.
Yes. Oh, I should do that again. I did used to do that, and it took a while for me to believe my own affirmations that I wrote, but it does work. Okay, ready? Question number 2. That was wonderful and honest. Question number 2. Who inspired you to seek recovery? Do you remember? Was there a certain person that just kind of inspired you to finally do the thing?
I think the courage that I came, I was sick
Mm-hmm.
and sick of being sick. But I have a sister-in-law that I'm really close to
Mm-hmm.
that was going through lung cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And she's still surviving, but she had to have chemo, radiation, all this stuff. And she always had a good attitude.
Mm-hmm.
And everything about it. And actually, I sent her a letter after I got sober, and I told her, you were my inspiration, because if you could walk through and do the things that you were doing for yourself, that I could do this.
Yeah.
So that was my biggest inspiration to keep going.
Okay. That's wonderful. And she's still in your life today?
Yep, she's still
That's
doing good, and I
amazing.
think now they have some spots, and it's been 8 years that they're watching, but I mean, she's gone through a lot, but she's still doing well.
Yeah.
So,
and it just really, that makes me think of the word being humble. I don't care. That's what I love about the meetings, and they're just like medicine for me, because I don't care how effed up my life seems. I can go in there, and I intently, like, it's medicine for me, but I just listened to everyone else, and it humbles the shit out of me, because I'm like, what am I so worried about, or what did I got to, there's so many people that especially remind me of where I came from and what I, where I started at, and it humbles me up real good, because, like, I need to just be great. It reminds me to be grateful that I have today. Okay, question number 3. We already had our last alarm, which means we got 10 minutes, but we're doing great. Okay, question number 3. What was your rock bottom? Do you have that rock bottom moment that you could describe?
my rock bottom moment was I went into treatment on a Tuesday, so it was the Saturday, Sunday. I was just on a big binge. But I remember sitting in my backyard under my tree, my sanctuary that we just seen.
Yeah.
And I felt really lonely and just sad, missing I had a lot of losses, and I just felt overwhelmed with sadness, and not like suicidal or anything, but I think if I would have continued, it could have. But I just remember sitting back there, and actually my neighbor came over to see if I was okay, and I was like, yeah, I'll be okay. And she reminds me to this day, I don't ever want to see that person again.
Yeah.
So apparently I was worse off than I thought I was. But I just remember, and then Monday came and I couldn't get out of bed. And then I got up. When I did, of course, I had to drink. And by Tuesday morning, I woke up and I called my sister and I said, I can't do this anymore. Can you take me to the hospital? And I was actually at my kitchen table telling God, it's like, I can't do this anymore. I need help.
Yeah.
And I think that was the biggest point. And one of my determinations was I had a counselor tell me she was worried about me when I was doing my outpatient. Like, I was like, well, I'm going to show her. I ain't going to relapse.
I love that. And I love that. And that's don't wait. If you're anything that we're talking about, you're feeling like, man, I'm there. Like, I want to reach out, but I don't know how. Like, don't hesitate.
Yeah.
Like, if you're on Facebook or you're on YouTube, like, there's all the numbers and the resources out there, but just ask. Just pick up that phone and ask for help, because that can really start.
It's the hardest thing to do.
It is.
But it was the best thing I ever did.
Yes.
To openly, because of course we all think we got everybody fooled, but I didn't have anybody fooled. They were all watching,
Oh, yeah.
But to do that, I mean, it was the hardest thing to do, but it was the best thing I ever did.
Yeah. Okay. Wonderful. That wasn't so bad, right?
No.
Okay. So,
I'm surviving, Bridge. I'm surviving this.
Yeah.
I may come back. You never know.
Yes. I would love for you to come back. Okay, so here we're going to flash the beads. Like I said, there's only 5, so it'll be good. And I do have them in order, so I'm just going to make sure they're in order as the listeners see them while I flash them to you. So let me get into there. So this is just meant to be fun, okay? I just want your take on it. I'm going to start with this one. Okay. Oh, let me get rid of this. Oh, hold on. I got to figure out how to get rid of. Oh, this could be a problem. Hijacked. Nope. How do I get rid of her little... didn't think of this through. Okay, how do I get rid of the chat thing? Let me see. Hide. Oh, I did it. See, trial and error. That's how I learned. I'm failing on live, and then I made it work. See, it's good. Okay, so here's the first view. And go ahead and read what that says, Marcie, to everybody. You love it?
It's opening a can and then you have to open it again.
This is
Yep, I'm only going to crack it a little bit.
opening up to my sponsor. This is true. Layers of
Layers.
definitely locked up. But I love that you just kept doing that. You kept opening those layers to me a little bit by little, and I never felt pressured, ever. And that just allowed me to really start to really open up more and more and more. And now I'm an open book. I'm almost too open sometimes to say some stuff that scares some people. Okay. Ooh, here's a aha one, I thought. Go ahead and read it. If you can read it. Do I have that one?
That's a good one.
Oh, I don't have that one for the listeners, so we'll just go ahead and read it. It says, I asked God, why are you taking me through troubled waters? And he replied, because your enemies can't swim. Do you like that one?
Yeah, I like that one.
I was like, and I try, it's so funny that I have this, I'm sorry, listeners, I don't have it. It's just words anyway, but I try to say it like smart. It sounds smart in meetings. It never comes out right. But I think the main point is, for me, I lived in that self-pity. And it wasn't like, oh, poor me, poor me. It was more like, am I so unlovable? Everybody keeps shitting all over me. Like, why do I keep putting, like, I always put my heart on my sleeve, and I do so much for so many people, and I've put up with so much. Why can't anybody give me that? That was the, like, and so when I read this, why is my higher power taking me through the troubled waters? It's because your enemies can't swim. It's like, and that's true. Those toxic people that I had in my life, those unhealthy people that I had in my circles, they're not in my life anymore. And I'm grateful because now my circles are my family in recovery. It's Chelsea, it's Jessica, it's Sarah, it's you, it's these people that I know genuinely love me and have my best interest in their hearts, and vice versa. And those people that would lie to my face and tell me they're there to support me and care about me, and then I find out later what they were doing behind my back or saying behind my back, the truth always reveals itself. That was just crushing to me. So, yeah, I don't need that. And I'm glad, that's the gift of desperation, all that crap I went through. It got me to be this stronger person, that I know where my boundaries are, and I know I need to set those boundaries. I don't need to allow anyone in my life that I don't need to. I used to think, oh, they're family.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no. You can pick your own family. Okay, here's another one. Go ahead and read that one. Oh, my God, I didn't upload this one either. Well, luckily, it's just words.
I told my job that 3 companies were after me and that I needed a raise. He asked which 3 companies. I said the gas, electric, and water. Hey, that would be true today.
That's very true today. so true.
I'm going to tell my boss that.
Give me a raise. Okay, now this one the listeners can see. Can you see it, though? It's small.
As I look back on my life, I realized that every time I thought I was being rejected from something good, I was actually being redirected to something better. And that it can absolutely be true.
Redirected, not rejected.
It's kind of like when one door opens, closes, another one opens.
Yes. And Steve Harvey, he speaks a lot. He's like, when one door shuts, he's like, keep going down that hall because there's more doors. And also, like, especially, well, my past relationship, ships going down. I always was like, I would be so hurt that they're rejecting me. Like, I thought I did all the things. I thought I did everything right. Each relationship I felt like, well, I'll make sure I don't do these things in this next relationship. But it didn't matter.
Because it wasn't you, it was them.
Yes. And you're always so wise. You're always like, well, I don't know about this one. You know, you never told me not to do something, but you're like, let's think about this option, or have you thought about this? And every time we've had a conversation, Marcie, your words always stay in my head. And sometimes it'll take time to process and marinate it, but I'm always like that, like ding.
It's like when I told you you shouldn't date in the first year.
She's right. Yes. Well, because I was like, at first I'm like, well, at that time I was like, well, Marcie, then I'd be single for 11 years of my life if I stuck to that. But I have been, by the way, you'd be proud of me. It's been almost a year. And I've just been dating myself.
That's good.
Isn't it great? I've never been so happy. But I feel like that was my higher power. You're not rejected. My higher powers redirected me to a better life. Better options. Okay, anyway. That was meant to be not making fun or whatever. This one is meant to be funny.
Been feeling a little moody and run down recently, so I Googled my symptoms to see what I might have. It's kids. I have kids.
I think I posted it on our mom's page. So I've been down, a little moody. I gotta say this how it sounds in my head. And down recently. So I Googled my symptoms to see what I have. It's kids. I have kids. And I love my children very, very much. But sometimes a bit much. And I hide in the meditation room.
That's right.
I get away.
Everybody needs a break.
Absolutely. Okay. We only got two more. Yeah, we'll go with this one that I flashed earlier. Read it out loud.
People who have social media but never post anything. Is that I'm peeking through the thing? Is that kind of what it means? You're just peeking on everybody?
Yes, you're creeping on everybody
you're a
else. Never post anything. And okay, so
that's me, you know.
No, there's two sides. Like you and I think are the same. Like, you know, I'll go on there, but I'm not like spending all day on there looking and like going into other people's stuff and creeping on people. Like there's these creepers that will look at someone else's and follow the other. It's weirdness that I hear about. And then there's just people like you and I think we're just busy and our life is not Facebook. And so
right.
I actually sometimes forget because like now I'll get tagged and stuff that I'm working on or working with other people. So I realize just like not much with my kids on my timeline. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to start posting more so that people don't think that I'm just like have no children anymore. I don't eat. I used to post pictures of food and I don't know. I've just never been really good at it. But I don't like, you know, creep on people or spend too much time on it either. I also love Steve Carell. Did you ever watch The Office?
Yeah.
So any of the Office characters, I'm like, what does it say? Okay, and then here's the last one. Yes, the last one. I bet you're... Okay, this might be confusing, but I loved it. It made sense.
I think I might be the saddest, happy person and the meanest nice person to ever exist. Hey, I think that's me.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, no.
And for the most... So I think I might be the saddest, happy person and the meanest, nice person to ever exist. I feel like it's like the you know, they talk about the black wolf and the white wolf, or the dark wolf and the light wolf. Like, that's me. Like, I just make sure not to feed the dark wolf, right? But you piss me off, I could be the meanest person you've ever seen. And unfortunately, you know, a couple people have seen that dark side. They're just in shock. I've said words like, you know, I remember just, I don't, you know, if you don't have something nice to say, don't say it at all. You know, I feel like I don't say anything. There's many things I could say to a lot of people. And I remember specifically saying, to make my point, because this person had no reservations to saying mean things to me. Just like really trying to hurt my feelings. But finally, where I'm at now, I do love myself, and I know myself enough to know that that's exactly what they're trying to do. I ain't taking nothing personal. And I remember saying, it's like, what you got to say about me? I was like, you know what? There's a lot of things I could. He's like, what? Go ahead, say them. I'm like, I won't, because you know what? If I said what I could say, I would crush your soul. And I saw the fear in his eyes.
Oh my.
Because he knew I was serious. Like, we spend all this time together. I see you, Dave, and I see your defects all over the fucking place, but I ain't calling your ass out, you know? And I know what his insecurities were. I could have made him just like, crushed his soul. But I know I would never do that. Like, there's just no purpose. But But then also, I'm very happy most days. And some people sometimes can tell sometimes I'm just a little over the top, not happy. But you put one sad song on, and I could go right into that,
Cry?
same. Yes, I can start crying. I mean, just today on the Rise Up Hour, the Mahana and his guest were like sharing really heavy, sad stuff, and I'm like, gentlemen, I can't cry right now, like, because it's video too, because we do it behind the scenes. I'm like, I have mascara and eyeliner on. I can't start crying, but I could literally it's just I feel like I'm in tune with my emotions more now in a happy way, but I could go to tears really quickly on accident. It's very confusing. Anyway, okay. So what'd you think of that? That's so good, right? Okay. I will tell you, I was planning to do a step 5 tonight. On one of the people that I thought I would never put on my list, and I never needed to put on my list. And funny thing is, 2 years now, 2 years where I'm at, I've really, my main focus has just been learning about myself and healing and trying to heal a lot of trauma. And I've been able to, wow, it's just amazing to really feel like I can understand myself better. And I've realized, for my own reason, I feel like my own inward job and for my own growth, this person I do want to put on that list. And definitely we'll talk about this next month, maybe when step 5 happens. But one of those people I never would even put on my list, and I'm thankful, because when I first came in and started working the steps with you, Marcie, you pointed out to me something really big. You said, Bridge, your abusers do not have to make an amends to your abusers, and especially new in the rooms. I say that to anyone. If there's a person who was abusive to you, there's no fucking amends ever needed, okay? That is, and when you explained that to me, because when I read the big book and it says you gotta do this thoroughly thing, as a female, for me, it was very easy to always blame myself for everything. So that list was long and way overdone and not even necessary. And that's why it's so important to find someone that you love and connect with, like the way I do with you, is that you help me see in a really safe, genuine way, Bridge, this list is not necessary. And later on in the steps, people learn to injure others, to do so would injure them or others. Well, others is yourself, right? And there's certain events that, like an abuser, would injure my soul. To sit there and try to make an amends to these people, insane.
But that's one of the importances of listing it, because when you sit down with your sponsor or who you're going to share with,
yes,
they can look at that and go, okay, what was your part in it?
Right.
And you'll see there was no part.
Right.
Because women like to self-blame themselves anyway.
Yes.
We're nurtured that way, I think, from birth.
Mm-hmm. We're just nurturers in general.
And, things don't go right in the family, it's our fault. Mm-hmm. Dinner isn't done on time, it's our fault.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Can't
get everything done on this impossible to-do list. Oh, it's me.
And it's not.
Failure.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's the biggest thing on there.
Mm-hmm. So the scary thing is that maybe you will have to come back next month.
No, maybe.
I'm ready to do this one. And it's more of an empowerment thing. So my
now that my fear is over of doing this, I could probably.
Yes, I've gotten 2 heavy hitters off, which was my sister and my adopted mom. And where it says today, I'm ready to go and put my adopted dad on that list. And it doesn't scare me anymore. And in fact, like I said, for me, fear used to be forget everything and run, right? And it was so easy to do with a substance.
Absolutely.
But now for me, fear, especially when I feel it for whatever reason, usually it's in the pit of my stomach, literally, I face everything and rise. And so now it's just this weird, I can't explain it, but I want to do that step 4 and 5 with you on him, because he was a monster and he was someone that was very awful in my life. But now that I'm so confident in myself and I love myself, I want to face that step to show that it can be done. It's this person who I never even would put on my list. I feel like it is possible, and I want to attempt it in messy form with you. And maybe we'll just do it off mic time, and I can share it later. But I finally feel like at 40, I'll be 41 this year, I'm ready. I'm ready to let go. That is the whole purpose of step 5, is to let go. And one of my favorite quotes, I've said it a million times, I'm sorry for the people that do listen week to week, is if you don't, okay, my favorite quote about the past is, oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank. Okay, if you don't live in the past.
You can visit it, but don't get stuck there.
Yeah, don't live in the past, or the past won't let you live.
Correct.
You know?
Absolutely.
You know, and so that's, the past was holding me back for so long that I couldn't live my life. I couldn't, move on. And so for me, step 4 and step 5 was that beautiful window, and I met my beautiful sponsor, and I was able to really let go of all this shit. I'd been carrying this heavy stuff that was really weighing me down. It was drowning me at the end of the day.
Well, and I think the biggest thing, too, getting through step 5 and getting through them, you are letting it go. So you don't have to revisit it again.
Right.
You know, and even people that go to therapists and talk about this stuff, and that's a lot of it. You know, walk through it. And then you don't have to look at it again.
Right. And there's so, everybody thinks
you're done.
An amends is an apology. No.
No.
An amends is an action. And what I like to point out is it's, if you know in your heart that you really have this amends, right? It could be what you need to let go. So it can be a letter. It can be a ceremony. It can be a balloon that you let go of. You know, it doesn't have to be this direct apology. That's ridiculous. Okay, I didn't do most of those. It can be a living amends, which I do with my children, just every day.
And that's what I
showing
do,
up.
too.
Yeah, just being the best mom that I can be. I have bad mom moments, but that's just whatever. I'm human. I got 5 of them against me. So, sometimes an angry mom comes out. But there can be the indirect amends, and there can be the in-kind amends, and I explain that later. But it can be whatever we could come with together for me to release that. I feel excited because this was such a dark person in my life that I want to let go of. Especially for future relationships. I feel like, unfortunately, that shadow gets casted on any new relationship I've ever tried, because as soon as they raise their voice, or as soon as they start, judging me, boom, there's that monster again. I'm like, uh-oh, I gotta put a wall up, and I don't want to do that. So I feel like if I just openly, I'm gonna write it down. I feel like, and I'm gonna burn that shit in the fire. We're gonna have bonfires this year, but I want to let go of that and just keep growing. Okay, any final words, Marcie, to our listeners? I'm so happy you came.
I'm glad I came too.
You are my favorite person, and I just feel so grateful to you. I mean, words can't express, but I love you so much. You saved my life. You're just one of those key people that truly saved my life. Because if you wouldn't have believed in me, I don't know how much longer I would have made it. I almost didn't make it. So, I love you.
I love you too.
And
I'm glad you made it.
I'm so glad I made it. All right, listeners, thank you so much for joining us. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. I hope you have a wonderful night. And I hope you have a wonderful week. And I'll see you next week. Bye, everybody. Oh, Marcie, look. I got music. It's the feels music. You ready?